Welcome back to my videos. So for this week, we are going to be making a centerpiece for a wedding party I'm having. I actually got married last year, or last May. It hasn't been a year yet. But our wedding party is scheduled for the following May, so that'll be our 1 year anniversary. We didn't have a big wedding celebration for obvious reasons, but also it was just too much stress to even think about organizing a party like that. So we decided on doing something pretty small and pretty casual, and I thought I'd make my own centerpieces. I've always loved terrariums. I've always loved very green, lush, mushroomy kind of vibes. So I definitely wanted to go with that. I had seen some inspirations on Pinterest, and so I thought I'd kind of try to replicate it. I went to Michael's and picked up a few materials to kind of test it out. Do a test run to see if I actually liked how it turned out. I still wasn't sure at this point how I wanted it to look, but I thought I'd go ahead and start making some mushrooms. I found some clay toadstools on Pinterest that looked super cute, and I thought I could buy those off of Amazon for real cheap, but they'll be ugly, or I could make it myself for much cheaper. I used this foam modeling clay. It's very foamy, and I just overall wasn't very happy with it. It's my first time using this material, so I wasn't really sure of what I was getting myself into. I thought I'd take it in parts and see how it felt in my hands. I will say that it's pretty spongy. It's easy to work with, although because it's kind of greasy, it does stick, like dust sticks to it really easily while you're working with it, which wasn't too much of a concern because I knew I was going to paint it afterwards. It was okay if the details were a little rustic. I decided to do a bigger mushroom and then a little baby mushroom to accompany it, and also build like a little clay foam stool for those mushrooms to sit on. So while I was working, I don't know if you can tell from the videos, but I saw when the mushrooms were resting on their side, they started to get smushed. Like they would just pretty much melt on the spot. There's no heat or anything, it's just the nature of the material. I try to prop it up in a way where the mushroom cap wouldn't go flat on one side, at least the side it was sitting on, and I forged on and decided to tackle the stool, which of course didn't have much issue with sagging. And I did end up drying the mushrooms, kind of laying on top of some tools so that the mushroom stem wouldn't bend and that the cap wouldn't be like distorted when drying. Hello. Okay, now on to the centerpieces that I can't stop talking about, but I just wanted to show you the results of the moldable foam clay. I don't know the exact word for it. So this is the mushroom that I made earlier. I don't know if you can see, but the mushroom cap itself on the underside is distorted because when I was resting it on the tools to let it dry, the foam mold just kind of sank and molded itself to the tools, so they're kind of all jacked up. I had done that because I wanted the stem to kind of fall straight down. While I had it resting like this to dry, the stem would start to sink and it would start to curve, and it just looked like a hot mess. This is less of a mess, but still not happy with it, so I decided, although it's still usable, that I'll be using Sculpey, which I have a ton of that I bought years ago and just never touched for whatever reason. So hopefully it's still good to use, but we're going to be able to sculpt that, bake it off in the oven straight away so that it hardens. hopefully without any distortion in the end. So here we go. This is actually a broken cutting board. I think it was made out of bamboo, but I was putting it in the dishwasher when I really shouldn't have, and it just split. But I decided to repurpose this, no waste, as a board to do any clay sculpting on. Okay. So I'm gonna put this stuff away before it dries out any faster. Okay, the clay is now pretty malleable. I want to get started with actually making the mushroom now. I really don't understand how some people are able to plan their weddings, like big, ginormous weddings. Like, granted, they do have like a wedding planner, but it just, I'm sure it's still so stressful. And I can't think of a bigger nightmare. I mean, more power to you if that's like your jam. But I mentally would not be able to handle it. That's the God honest truth. So here's our stump, and we're gonna put the two mushrooms once they're baked, like that. At least I think that should be cute. I think so. We're gonna add like a bunch of moss and stuff so it's not so bleak looking. And then we're gonna put that all in this jar. This is the old foam one. Put them in a jar with like this guy. Maybe I'll put the mushroom in the middle. I'm going to bake these guys off. The time is about 15 to 20 minutes, I believe, at 275. It's like 15 minutes per 1/4 inch. So since the widths kind of vary a lot, I'll just play it by ear and check it out, but it's oven time. Okay, what I did is I put it in a baking pan and I made like a little foil pillow for the bigger mushroom so that his stem doesn't curve too much when it's baking off. So the mushrooms are now fully baked and I'm gonna go ahead and paint them. This is the smaller one and this is the tree stump. So the lighting's a little bright in here, so you can't really pick up the details, but they came out pretty good. They feel pretty sturdy. There was no deformities while they dried or while they baked, so happy with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and paint them. I have my reference photo. Let's get started. one coat of paint done, I'm actually gonna go in and do a second coat so that the color is flat and there's no like sculpey clay coming through, but I'm gonna go ahead and paint the actual stem. Everything is painted, the mushrooms and the little tree stumps, so I'm just gonna let it dry, but these will all be glued together and then I'll start decorating with moss in the jar and everything, but that would be the next step. So now it's just the waiting game. Okay, the pieces have been drying for a while. The paint is still really sticky. So that poses quite a problem when it comes to animal fur, but it's okay because I will be putting it away into a little glass jar so that it is free from any dust or debris. I'm guessing there's probably like a coating or a gloss out there that eliminates the stickiness, but just be aware if you paint Sculpey with acrylic, it's gonna be really sticky. Like I'm taking off bits of fur. But that's okay. So I was going to glue the mushrooms on like so. I thought that looked pretty cute. I'm going to be using a mixture of hot glue gun as well as Gorilla Glue because this is really strong, but this is like goopy where it leaves, there it goes, where it leaves like more of a support system for it to stand, because as strong as the super glue is, it's Gorilla Glue, super glue, it's very viscous and liquidy, and I would have to be holding it without moving for like 10 minutes for it to set. So I'm gonna first go in with this and kind of put a base down, and then I'm gonna put the Gorilla Glue globbed onto here. And set it on top. And I'll just wait for that to dry. Okay, and before I could even open Reddit, it stays. So there's a bunch of glue at the base that you could see, and I only have sparkly hot glue gun stick. So it's not the prettiest, but I'll be going in and covering it with moss afterwards, so it's not too big of a deal. The smaller one should be easier to put on because it has a flatter base. Gorilla Glue on the mushroom itself. Ugh. That one's set really quick. So as a reminder to myself going forward, when I sculpt these, I should try to really shoot for a flat bottom to the mushroom so that when I glue it onto the rock or the stump, that it's a much easier process, because I'll be doing this times 10. It's so cute. I'm really happy with it. Okay, next up I'm gonna glue some of this moss kind of on the tree stump itself. I might add more later once I put it in its jar, but while I have it out and drying, I thought I'd go in with a little detail. I don't know exactly how I want it to look, but let's just wing it. Probably start with gluing on top of the other glue so that it doesn't show so much. And here it is. You can see that the moss really kind of makes sure that that sparkly glue is hidden, but it also adds just like a really nice, like a slightly more realistic feel to it. Now I'm gonna go ahead and assemble the jar. Okay, this is the actual jar on top of this like wood slice. You could find these on Etsy. I got this one from Michael's. It's kind of, it chips a lot, which is kind of annoying, and they're probably overpriced, but I really wanted like a naturey feel. This was also from Michael's. This was like $7. And then I got these moss balls off of Amazon. They're super fake, but they still look cute, and I thought I could just do kind of nature inside the jar and a little nature outside the jar. And a couple of other items we might use is a bunch of pebbles, this big thing of fern, which I'll probably be snipping off, and fairy lights, and a little like mini electric tea lights, or battery powered tea lights. Honestly, fairy lights are such a pain to work with when you want to get them like in a controlled shape, and to make it a little asymmetrical so it doesn't look too funny, but I think that looks pretty cute. I'm going to start with just giving a little bit of glue to the jar itself. And then glue down the moss that's around it. And here is the final centerpiece. I'm not sure if I want to add anything like a table number or whatnot, but this is what I have so far, and I'm pretty happy with it. Let me show you what it looks like without the lights on. Yeah, so it looks even prettier at night. Like, we're going to be outdoors. It's going to be a night event, but there will be string lights up. So it won't be super dark, which is why I left the kitchen light on. So this is pretty much how it looked. You can see that because the string lights are so bright, the wires aren't too noticeable, like not annoyingly so, but pretty happy with how this turned out.